Okay, but moving on from masturbation and hand puppeteering, we have the new Titanfall 2. Oh, I know you guys love that name. But moving on, Titanfall 2 was just showcased at E3. I played the original one, found the multiplayer to get kind of boring pretty fast. It was a fun concept. It was really fun for the beginning 30-40 minutes of it. But after playing it for a couple days, I just lost interest. It was cool, but it was gimmicky. But I've been looking forward to a game with, you know, piloting giant mechs, because they had a really good Gundam one on Dreamcast, but there hasn't been really any good ones since. And Titanfall looked to capture that, but it didn't hold everybody's attention. But this one seems to be a step up in the right direction, a very right direction, and they address those issues that a lot of people have with it. Kind of like how a majority of the fan base for Star Wars Battlefront were like, there's no story mode, we only have a few maps, what the heck. Titanfall's like, alright, we're going to listen to half of the gamers in the gaming community out there, and we're going to put in a full story mode single player campaign, which has piqued my interest to say the least, just to say in the least. But it also brings in the function of not bringing in a good story, and your character has some character to it, to say the least, but so does your mech. Your mech has its own personality, its own way of functioning. They brought in a whole new type of combat system into it, which is melee combat with swords and shields, which looks to be awesome. Think about gladiatory combat, but with fucking gigantic mechs and buildings around them to smash. So I'm really excited for this game. They seem to realize it's like, we can't just put out a multiplayer because, yeah, it might be fun and capture everybody's imagination for a good 6-7 months, but what's going to keep people coming back to it, and what can we do to add more to it and make it a better overall around game? And they didn't just throw in a good story mode. They went in to even give the mech its own true personality. And the cool thing about it, it seems to be kind of a throwback or retro kind of mech at that. What are your guys' thoughts and opinions on this?
Just real quick, Brandon, I do want to correct you. Armored Core for PlayStation 2, 1, 2, 3, and then they had a fourth one, were awesome mech games.
Very
not
true.
trying to take anything away from Titanfall or whatever, but if you get a chance and you happen to have a PlayStation 2 lying around, dust it off, try to find you Armored Core, because it was awesome. I believe one of the top designers for this actually, played Armored Core and got a lot of the ideas for the mechs from it.
Yeah, very true. And like I said, there was a really great Gundam game, first-person Gundam game, where you were in the giant mechs. That was on the Dreamcast. So if you have one of those, or you can find one for cheap, dust that off, get that Gundam game, and you'll love it. It's one of the best games I've ever. But anybody else have some thoughts on this?
I just want to ask real quick, the one that Justin was just speaking of. So Titanfall is primarily online, right, Brandon?
Yes, the first one was only multiplayer with only a handful of maps, and that was it.
Is that going to be the same situation for that Justin was talking about?
No,
okay.
Not necessarily. Armored Core did have a storyline. It was, it was PlayStation 2, so the online craze wasn't as large. I mean, there was some online play with, I believe, the third one, but you really get a lot of single player story mode kind of a deal with it. So I think what Titanfall probably did was go back and look at some of the ideas that made that franchise so popular, because I know I owned it. Like 4 of my buddies owned it. We all enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah.
My question is, with Titanfall 2, are we going to be able to change out, like, say, you have a bi-legged creature. Well, can I put spider legs on it or tank tracks on it and change up my guns and my sword and stuff like that? I mean, that's one thing I want to know before I even get interested in it, because, like I said, it's hard to move away from an older game that let me do those kinds of things and not think a newer game would allow such of an advancement for my giant fighting robot.
Then I was just about to say, the old ones gave you a lot of good customizable abilities, just like the Gundam game did. But in the first one, you could customize, in the multiplayer, you could customize like the weapons you had, and they had a certain few type of Titans you could use. I'm pretty sure they're going to add a lot more to that in multiplayer. Now, I don't know about the single player, because from what they've shown about the single player, you're in this old school retro, like one of the very first Titans, and it has its own kind of personality and programming to it. And I think that's going to be like the main story plot, is you and this Titan, and basically becoming like kind of like a buddy with a robotic entity. You know what I mean? In that sense, you probably will be able to change out the weaponry, because it does show them with guns, swords, this and that. but I don't know about actually customizing him himself. But in the multiplayer, yeah, probably there'll be quite a bit of it.
Can I
Well, I
shoot
played the
these?
first one, and I thought it was really good. I really only played it with my brother from time to time because I could never figure out what all was going on, and I didn't want, it got a little crazy there after a while. People started playing like they were playing Call of Duty, and it was
It took the
really
fun out of it.
starting to annoy the piss out of me.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. But the idea of it was really fun. Like, the first time you got into that mech and you got the wreck shop, I bet you had a lot of fun with that moment.
Oh yeah, that was always fun. Because then you could just step on people and be like, well, stop pissing me off.
Especially when you got to blow up one of the other mechs. It felt really satisfying to see that other mech blow up. And you really kind of felt it, which gives a lot of credence to a gaming company, because not always in fighting games you actually, like, really feel it, or when you hit that button you can, you know what I mean, a good, I don't know what the word for it is, but you know what I'm saying. And they pulled that off with Titanfall when you were in the mechs fighting each other.
Well, here we go.
But this one seems to be a big advancement from the last one. What were you saying? Sorry.
Oh, I just oh, okay, never mind. Thank you, Meow, for letting us know that. I'm glad it stopped. You can keep going. My apologies.
That's all I have for right now. Anybody else got something to say?
Now, I know we had mentioned cross-platform before and everything like that, and I know Titanfall is scheduled for release on the PS4 just due to some of my research. It's also scheduled for the Xbox One, correct?
Yes, it's going to be back out on the Xbox One, and you are correct. It will be on PlayStation 4 too.
Now, there's quite a few titles that are actually, streamlined to be across several different platforms. Do we think that one of these platforms, i.e. Titanfall, which I would really like to see, will be that first time that we get that glimpse into maybe PC and Xbox One, or PlayStation 4 and Xbox One finally coming together to shoot the shit out of each other across consoles?
See, I don't know, but this would be a great time to do it. This would be a good game to do it with. And they've been talking about it a lot, at least Xbox has, and I can see it being one of the ones where they go for it. Anybody else have anything?